Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Markus. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmarkus.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. If you're looking, you can actually see it behind my head. And today is the day that you were given to do it all over again. The past doesn't exist. The future is not here yet. The only thing we have is right now. So what are you going to do in this moment? You already know my name because it's my show. But I do it for, and not the number, you. I do it for you, to inspire you, because someone out there is doing something that you may want to do, or someone you need to talk to, someone that needs to connect with you, because we are a fractal community. We are all of the same stuff. And today my guest is Markus Almond of creatinginfluence.com. What up, Markus?
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So let's I always go back. I go, not a Michael J. Fox. It's not Back to the Future. I just go back. What got you? What's your story? What brought you to now?
Sure. So I actually started in the music industry as well. And I played in bands for years and built up an audience that way. I got my music was licensed in over 60 different TV shows. And then as I was getting older, I moved to New York and kind of stopped playing music for a while. And I started writing. So I've written 7 books and built an audience that way. And I started this zine in New York called Brooklyn to Mars. And it just caught on with authors and musicians and creative types. And I sort of built the following from there. And today I coach other people. So I teach people how to build their own audience. Usually I work with people who have a personal brand, whether that's an author or coach or musician. And I just help them kind of market themselves and build up an audience.
That's the departure, because you're creative. I mean, you're a creative soul, but that's kind of like a management thing. So now you're not so creative as you're managing or helping them to do that. And I'm going personal with you. So
sure.
Does that bug help? I mean, does it fill that void for you for the creative aspect?
Well, I still do both. So I still write books, but then I'm very much interested in the marketing side and helping people connect with an audience. So it's less management and more just like teaching people how to, tell their story and connect their art to fans who should hear about it, really. And I think that's really what drives me is seeing those results and taking kind of an unknown author or coach and just seeing them kind of bloom and connect with an audience. That's really exciting for me. So I like that.
I know you had this project that kind of gained feet under it, but what brought you into the coaching space where you said, I need to connect directly with these people I need to, here, give me your hand and I'll take your hand and I'll bring you along and then I'll let you go.
It was actually, I never wanted to be a coach. I never planned for it, but it was, I was getting a lot of questions and people asking for advice anyway. And it started pretty naturally. I would, help people over email or Instagram Messenger. And then eventually I hopped on a couple phone calls with people and it just felt like a good fit. Like I started this mentor program and then eventually developed this coaching program, which is what I do now. But I never actually set out to like start a coaching business. It just kind of grew from my audience of my books.
Awesome. So let's go through the books.
Sure.
Start with the first one and how that came about.
Okay. So I was publishing this magazine and it was going well. And the natural next step was to release a book. So I thought I would write a novel and I'd never done it before. I had a couple publishing offers.
Really?
And they were like, the money wasn't that great for the offers I got. So I was like, no, this isn't worth it. Like, I don't want to give someone this percentage cut. I'll just put it out myself because it was so easy to do on Amazon and stuff. So I spent about a year writing this novel, and I was kind of nervous about figuring out how to do the book layout and the formatting it for an ebook. So I just said, oh, I'll just do like this test thing. And I took like all these journal entries and sort of poems I'd written, and I formatted that first in case I messed it up. So I was like, I'll just try this, put it up, see how it goes. And that book was called Things to Shout Out Loud at Parties. And it was just a collection of random thoughts and poetry and stuff like that. And that book blew up and reached the bestsellers list, and is today still my best-selling book. And it does really, really well. And the novel tanked. It's my least popular book.
But life is like that.
Yeah.
We go in with intent, but from our own perspective, but the world has what it wants already, and you'll put something out there and like, oh, this is just I'm just going to throw this in there. Yeah. And next thing you know, boom, because I've got posts that are like that I'm like, this is going to be garbage. And they're just the most popular things ever.
Yeah. It's amazing how, you can't really plan for that stuff.
So with that, I mean, when you start publishing, it's a learning process. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of people don't even realize, because with Vanity Press today, they take care of a lot of back end things. But if you do it really independently, you learn a lot about publishing, ISBNs, mechanical rights, and simple stuff like how many words really look great in a sentence.
For sure. Yeah.
I published a book, and I learned all this stuff in like gutters, and I was like, I need to know why do I thought I just give this stuff to you. And with authors, do you get a lot of first time authors, or is it reoccurring, or people who are just kind of frustrated in their process?
I'd say most of the authors I work with are writing their first book. So they're reaching out, not so much on the formatting part of things, but more on the creation, like writing and outlining their actual book and getting it done. Yeah. So, yeah.
How did you learn that you could transfer this to help, to help people build their audience? Because it seems like yours came kind of like organically, like it just said, like you said, I'm going to just throw this hook in the water, and next thing you know, I have Moby Dick on the end of my line.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I said this like a minute ago, but like marketing is I'm always fascinated by marketing, and just the whole aspect of taking a project that nobody knows about and figuring out how to find an audience for it. That's always appealed to me for some reason. The idea of supporting yourself with art or whatever creative process you're drawn to, I think is a really cool thing. So I had a career going as a musician. And then when I moved to New York and started writing, I actually used a pen name and changed my name and didn't tell any of my friends or family I was doing this, because I wanted to know that the writing was good and it was actually connecting with people and not just people who already knew me. So I literally started from scratch and figured out a way how to do that. So a lot of the things that I was able to do there is what I teach other people.
Awesome. Do you work with just anybody's? So if, your buddies, hey man, I got this friend who's writing a book, they need to work with you, or?
It depends on the person. It's got to be a good fit. So what I usually do is hop on a short free phone call to see, what their goals are and how I can help. And it's not always a good fit. So I don't work with anyone. And these days I am working with a lot of coaches. So people launching a coaching business, or they have one, but they need a bigger audience. That's really cool too, because those people are, it's less about creating art and more helping people directly and getting results for their clients, which is pretty fun.
Do you find some people are kind of technically challenged? Like they have their idea of what they want to do, but they don't understand the landscape of tools that are available for them to use them and how to apply them. And
Absolutely.
So what do you do in those situations when these people are, because I see it consistently. People are like, I can't do that. I'm like, there's a nice little tool All you have to do is learn it.
Yeah. I mean, I like to keep it simple. Even in my own business, I keep the tech side pretty simple. So I think it's super easy to just, use social media to build a business. And these days, it depends on what you're doing, but you might not even need a website. I think like tools like Squarespace and ClickFunnels, those are pretty straightforward to use, but not everybody needs them too. So if they do need them, I kind of guide them through the process of setting that stuff up, but we keep it super simple and manageable.
So you help them to understand the space of how to independently publish or publish with the help of a house.
I do both. So we pitch to publishers. My whole thing is, what I'm great at is helping them build their audience. So what that looks like is really person to person. Some people prefer to publish their own books. Some people just want to write and not need to learn about distribution and all that stuff. So we'll like shop them around and find them a partner. But when people come to me and when they work with me, it's very much focused on their audience and the marketing side of things.
Is your audience global? So if you have someone who is very remote, say a wholly different country.
Yeah. Those it's kind of hard to make that happen just because of the different time zones and stuff. So most of the people that I work with are in the US and Canada, but I've worked with people like in Europe and in the UK before. I'm in New York, so that's definitely doable. But Australia's tough. There's a few other time zones that are kind of difficult because the coaching program is one-on-one with me. So it's like we need to be on the phone at the same time. So
your coaching program, what does that usually entail as far as commitment?
It's a 12-week program. So it's a 12-week program, and that's very much centered on building your audience and the marketing side of your business. I also do another one for authors that's it's a year long, and instead of once a week, we meet once a month, and that's more geared towards helping people through the writing process of writing, and that takes longer than 12 weeks. Obviously, that's why that program's a little bit longer.
And so how do most people find you now? I mean, of course, like the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast, of course, people find you, but what was your mechanism? Are you helping them to, this is a convoluted question. I'm sorry. I have two things.
Go for
this
it.
is a big head, man. And a lot of things are roaming around in here.
Awesome.
So do you push them towards podcasts and being guests? Because, a lot of authors have this introvert quality to them.
Yes.
And
for sure.
Part of today is, and I've said this because of like in my own program when I'm coaching people, I'm saying like, for most part, you create your own media. You don't go to the newspaper and take out an ad. You don't really go to a television station, take out an ad. Now the advertising is you. People want to find out that you're authentic. You're the person that's doing it. It's like a rapper who doesn't write their own rhymes. They want to know you're writing your own.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And knowing that these people are typically introverts, they're living in their soul and pushing it out to the world. Do you have to coach them into like, hey, these are things you're going to have to do, and here's some of the personal changes you're going to have to make?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot that you can do with social media. Obviously, that you can just do it as an introvert. You don't have to do videos. So I think a lot of that can be done even if a person's like extremely introverted or whatever. But one of the things I teach is getting in front of other people's audiences like this, like doing a podcast, or for authors that could be doing a reading at an event or something like that. So those things do come up, and it is important for them to leave their comfort zone once in a while. Not that they have to, change their identity or stop being introverted or anything like that. But, for a lot of people, we kind of set a goal of doing something like that once a week, or leaving your comfort zone once a week. And some amazing things happen because, people stay at home writing all day, and they think they have a fear of public speaking, but they get out there 2 or 3 times and that fear kind of evaporates and goes away. So it's pretty cool to see. But yeah, you're absolutely right. As far as when it comes to building an audience, I think you do have to kind of be your own, your own speaker and get out there and kind of like call attention to yourself. And that can be uncomfortable or feel kind of awkward in the beginning. But if you get good at it, that's how you really build an audience, you know?
Yeah. And my wife always says this about me. She says, you know what, in public, you're an extrovert. In private, you're an introvert.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I very much am, you know, like I'll just sit and create stuff and make my music. And she's like, hey, Darren. I'm like, leave me alone.
Yeah. It's a totally different part of your brain. Like when you're in the zone and creating stuff versus, you know, talking about yourself and telling stories and stuff.
So you got into the coaching portion. Do you have your own community of coaches that you refer to for an access to knowledge base? And are there any other interesting things you're seeing in the coaching business like right now? Sure.
Yeah, I'm in a few different groups of, you know, just different networks of coaches. So there are things that I definitely don't deal with. Like there are coaches that help with trauma and mindset stuff. And I'm solely focused on the marketing side. So if that comes up with a client, I'm happy to refer them to someone who is an expert with that stuff that I don't do. So that's definitely a benefit of having that network. But yeah, as far as coaches, it's like such an interesting time to be a coach or to start a coaching company. You know, there's really no limit to what you can accomplish as far as revenue and clients with, you know, what you can do with just marketing yourself on the internet and connecting with people. It's like, I'm seeing really amazing things, and it's just like the industry continues to grow every year. And I think it's projected to be, I forget what the growth rate is, but it's something like 20% every year or something, or 15. But yeah, it's just crazy how much the coaching industry has grown and is projected to grow over the next 5 or 10 years.
So Mark, what are your like base skill levels that you say people need to get into marketing? If you were talking, if I would say, hey, I got this book.
Yep.
And I need to market this puppy. And what are some of the base skills that you look for in someone that says, I have a piece of clay that I can start to mold?
Well, I think anybody can learn how to do this. So they don't need to have those when I'm kind of meeting them for the first time. It's all learnable. I think the one thing I do look for is drive and the ability to work hard, because you need that. And that's kind of hard to teach. But the skills needed to market themselves, there's a few. For one, you've really got to know who you're talking to. You've got to know your niche. You got to know your audience. You've got to know what they're looking for and how to connect with them, how to speak to them, you know, where they are online or in real life, and how to find them and connect with them. You've got to learn the art of storytelling, which is really important, how to tell your own story, how to tell the story of why your book exists, or like why that album is important to listen to. It's really learning to be your authentic self and telling stories that are true, that people can connect with and kind of latch on to. And it's really kind of creating a movement around your business or your project. And that's really important when you're doing a podcast or at an event or something. That's storytelling is really the art of connecting with people. So it's important to learn how to do that and tell your own story, because you know, we've all got history. We've all got interesting things that have happened to us, and we've all faced problems and adversity, but you can tell those stories in so many different ways that there is an art form to telling them in a way that connects with people and gets people excited about what you're doing. So those are some key points. I think when it comes to the online stuff, I think copywriting and again, learning how to convey your message to people online is an important part, and I teach that as well.
Yeah, that's always been my stick, is copywriting.
Oh, okay.
I shudder in fear.
Oh, man.
I'm just like...
Yeah, it can be tricky.
So if somebody started from scratch, what's the best way that they can begin to build their audience, you know, just to get their toes wet and to understand what the landscape is like?
Sure. I think Well, when you work with me, the first thing we do is figure out that niche and who they're marketing to. And then we work on creating content. So, if you're starting an audience from scratch, it's like you've got to just kind of put content out there to nobody for a little bit and see what's landing with people, see what's connecting. And then once you realize what type of content your niche is interested in, once you figure that part out, it's pretty easy to scale it up and get it in front of other people's audiences and attract more people to what you're doing.
And that's awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you how this fits in your life. How what we've been talking about fits in everyone's life, because everyone has a specific audience. And this is where it comes from. So, let's say you go to a bar and you're hanging out and you want to find a date for the next week. Well, you have a particular demographic that is going to gravitate towards you, and you need to know that before you go approaching people. So if you are 5'3" and you're looking for someone who is 7'2", that might not be your demographic. While
sure.
Someone who is 5'6" may be within your range, and then you can actually narrow it down from there depending on who you are. Hey, I like someone who wears bright clothes because I wear bright clothes, or the compliment. There's always augmentations, but how this applies to life is anything that you do outside yourself, you have to find your audience. So that is really important. And once you find that audience, you have to keep them engaged, which is marketing. So showing them what you have. This has been awesome, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
So what music do you have out there?
Man, lately I've just been listening to like instrumental classical music, and because I'm just like working all the time. So I kind of have that in the background. But yeah, I listen to everything. I grew up on punk rock and, literally listen to all kinds of music.
You know what was in my Spotify this whole week is the Chick Corea Electric Band entire repertoire. I have every album, and I've forgot my record player's over there. But I was like, let me pull up Chick. I literally started at the first album and just went through the whole thing and replayed a couple songs. Like, oh my God, this is so awesome.
I haven't heard those songs in probably 10 years or something.
So spectacular.
Need to go back.
So how can people find you?
You can go to my website, creatinginfluence.com. I'm also on Instagram. It's pretty easy to get a hold of me on Instagram. It's just Markus Almond, and Markus with a K. And you can message me on there. I'm always replying to people, so that's probably the best way.
Are you on Instagram TV as well, giving out tips and tricks and stuff?
Yeah, there's a few TV videos on there for sure. Yeah, I try to do those once in a while. Yep.
Do you ever do any live videos, just bringing people in, Q&A or workshops or anything like that for the general public?
I've done a couple live videos on Facebook, but I've not on Instagram. I'm like, makes me a little bit nervous. I have like a pretty big Instagram following, so just to go on there live like freaks me out a little bit, but I should do more of that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world. Remember, this is a big playground. Literally, you were this spiritual being, this energy that was connected to the universe, and you saw this little planet, this little spot. You said, it's my time. I'm going down. I'm going down to inhabit this physical body. And at some point in that process, you noticed that there were these two people who were doing this thing, and they shared some information with each other, which were two cells. And then you were given the blessing to enter into that multiplicity, that thing that was creating itself. So two cells met, and they began to replicate in 2 to the power of 30. When you came into it, it was over 1 billion cells, and you weren't even physically of the air in this world yet. So 9 months after that, or sometime after that, you came into the world. So just think how that billion of cells that were into the 30-day mark, what they were 9 months later. You continue to grow. So when I say to you, hey, billionaire, how you doing? You say, I'm not a billionaire. Think about it. Remember, we're fractal beings. We're of the universe. As you look further out, it looks more the same. As you look further in, it looks more the same. So we're all the same stuff. And sometimes we get a little wrapped up. We are hue, H-U-E, people under the sun, because we all have color. In the image of man, the issue is we have problems with the being, human being. So if you get the little, at the end of your rope, tie a knot, keep hanging, pull yourself up, and look in the mirror. Because if you really want to test me, your eyes are like nebulae and galaxies in the sky. That's how special you are. Till next time, treat everybody with love, honor, and respect like you want to be treated. Peace.